elegir lenguaje en español.
Thank you, Dalila. All right, and with that, everyone, we'll go ahead and get ourselves started. So thank you so much for joining us for our monthly Health Innovation Community Partnership meeting. This is our August meeting, and we're excited to be able to bring to you several important updates, as well as our vote on the Community Benefits Agreement for the Third and Dangler project. Those materials were sent out last night as well as this morning, so I hope if you have them in your hands, and if not, please go ahead and check your inboxes and ensure that you have them. If you're missing any of the materials and would like them sent to you, please go ahead and add your email address into the chat and we'll take care of getting those over to you. With that, we'll go ahead and get started with our meeting. First, we just want to remind everyone of the tech tips of the day. First and foremost, we ask that you please mute yourself unless you are speaking so that we can minimize any background noise. You'll notice that you have a menu bar at the bottom of your Zoom screen for those that are joining us via Zoom. And there's tools there where you can mute yourself, you can turn on and off your video, you can see a list of who's in our meeting today, and you can raise your hand to ask a question, or of course, we do encourage people to add your comments and questions in the chat as well. We'll be monitoring that throughout the meeting and reading out chat comments at appropriate times. We also want to make our agenda and our meeting as interactive as possible. We encourage you to engage with us via the chat room and also at various points in the presentation where we'll ask for your questions so those joining us by phone can pipe up and contribute at that time. Taking a quick overview of our meeting for the day, we've got wonderful presentations and updates from the Women and Children's Hospital ceremony, the Restorative Care Village. Jorge Orozco will be joining us to tell us about the LAC-USC Medical Center and what is happening on our campus as it pertains to the COVID pandemic. We also have a longer form presentation from Supervisor Solis's office on transportation. And then we are going to be moving into a final discussion and the vote today on the Third and Dangler Community Benefits Agreement. So to start us off, we're going to give a few little membership updates on business of the Health Innovation Community Partnership. First, I'd like to reiterate the guiding principles for the Health Innovation Community Partnership. These were decided when the partnership began in 2017 under the invitation of Supervisor Hilda Solis. This group was convened to ensure a equitable space and table for partnership and engagement on important issues to the community. I'm going to read the guiding principles aloud that will help orient us to the framing of our conversation and discussion at this partnership table. We collectively agree that all participants will agree to basic principles prioritizing equity, community resilience, and health in all projects and programs. All participants agree to approach issues with an open mind, be willing to engage in dialogue, and to commit to thinking boldly about solutions. Participants will state views and ask genuine questions. Participants will seek to avoid monologues and arguments, move to conversations where participants are curious and seek to understand various points of view. Participants will explain their reasoning and intent, share how we reach our conclusions so that others can understand our divergent reasoning. Participants will attack the problem and not the person, organization, or institution. Participants will define key terms so that we can attain a shared understanding. Participants will share all relevant information. Participants will always arrive prepared for the meeting. During meetings, only one person speaks at a time. We will not engage in sidebar conversations. Participants will work to develop a comprehensive, common set of information with which to solve problems and make decisions. Participants will jointly design next steps. We wanted to reiterate the guiding principles as we move into our formal voting process today. I wanted to review that process as well so that everyone knows what to expect when we get to that portion of the agenda. We've had to modify our voting process as described in the bylaws as we are moved to a virtual platform via Zoom. So please note there's some minor modifications to the process as outlined in the bylaws. First and foremost, all voting items must be communicated in advance to the partnership with sufficient time for review. The voting item will be introduced and discussed at a regular partnership meeting, such as this one today. A vote may be cast by either the voting member or their designated alternate. The partnership will take a temperature check up to 2 rounds to achieve agreement in order to move forward to a vote. Non-voting members will be excused from the meeting, and the voting members, per signed membership agreements, will then vote on the item. Voting members may vote yes, no, or abstain. And the vote will pass using a simple majority of the present eligible voting membership for the final vote. So as we get to that portion of the agenda later today, we'll remind you of how the voting process will work, but we're very excited to invite our voting members today to cast their votes on the third and Dangler Community Benefits Agreement. And we invite all the partnership members in attendance today to contribute to the discussion, ask important questions, and help frame the conversation so that when the voting members step aside for their vote, they're operating from the best possible set of information. A couple other updates. We also have a membership survey that was sent out to everyone in July, and today is the last day to fill out that survey. We're asking for your help and support to please contribute to the survey results. It's being conducted by one of our funders, which is the California Accountable Communities for Health Initiative. If you are able to help us and support us by completing that survey, please search your email box for the phrase CACHI, C-A-C-H-I, year 3, and you will find an email that was sent to you around July 9th. You can follow that link. Each link is unique to a member of the partnership. You'll be able to complete the survey in about 10 minutes and be eligible for a $50 gift card. As mentioned, it would be really helpful if you have not already done so, if you could complete the survey for us by the end of business today. Finally, we're excited to announce that we're forming a new working group as part of the Health Innovation Community Partnership. It's the CACHI work group. It's part of our project with the California Accountable Communities for Health. We're going to be focusing on the issue of building protective factors for children 0 to 5. And we encourage anyone who is a member of the Health Innovation Community Partnership to join our working group. We have an information that we'll be hosting on August 20th if you'd like to learn more, and we invite everyone to join us there. If you're interested, please contact Juliana at the Wellness Center. Her email address is julianav@thewellnesscenterla.org, or you can just put your email and name in the chat right now, and we'll be sure to contact you with the information on our information session. With that, I'll take a quick pause and see if there are any questions or comments on what I've reviewed so far. Thank you, Roberto. We're delighted to have, to make sure to invite you to join us for the CACHI work group. It would be fantastic to have someone from First 5 LA in our group. And Michelle, I see your comment here. We'll make sure to get those emailed materials out to you. Michelle, if you could please provide your email address, that would be the fastest way for us to get those emails to you. All right, I think with that, we'll move on to our first presentation of the day. I'm going to invite Monica Alcaraz to give us a presentation and update on the Women and Children's Hospital ceremony. Monica?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can. You sound great.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So we just wanted to provide an update on the Women and Children's ceremony. Wanted everybody to know that this event is still on the table with COVID and everything. We just want to make sure that everybody is safe, but we want everybody to know that we are looking at a date in September. Obviously, it's not going to be as big as we originally hoped for. Even the participants, as far as speakers, the agenda is kind of going to be smaller, but the goal of commemorating what happened at the hospital and cleansing of the space and blessing of the space, that's very much a part of what the goal was originally. So I just wanted everybody to know that we are working on this, and we're actually also working with an organization that wants to build in a time capsule for the Women's and Children Hospital as well. And that's basically it, all I wanted to say. But of course, we do have to make sure that we are safe and that everybody that participates is safe and that we follow certain guidelines. So understand that this is happening, and we'll let you guys know. I'll be working on a flyer once we get a date and let everybody know about it happening. It's going to be more of a live stream or a recording of the event, and we'll see how we can bring in more of the community to be part of it virtually. So does anybody have any questions very quick is what I wanted to provide. Okay, Blanca, is that a question for us?
Does anyone have any questions for Monica or requests for additional information?
Okay, so Blanca's talking about she's with the Office of Communication and Engagement at USC. You can find us on social media. Oh, I don't know. Oh, yes. We will be sharing the information to all our partners, and we would hope that the partners share it on their social media and just their network so that they know that this is happening and how they can be part of it.
Thank you. Monica, are you requesting at this time that people might share personal stories or reflections to be included in the memorial?
So yeah, so that's, I'm sorry. Yeah, so if anybody would like to share, because one of the things that we did talk about is like where people can like do video testimonials or reflections or anything. So if you'd like to be part of that, you can email me I'll put my email address in there, or Heather, you're gonna do a follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll put my email in there.
We can send a follow-up to everyone request.
And then, yeah, but then I'll just put my email in here. But yeah, you can send me an email, and then we'll see how we can get as many people into this. But again, understand it's virtual. But yeah, to have those testimonials or reflections or what the hospital means to you would be very something that we do want to have as part of the ceremony or the event.
Thank you, Monica, for that update. As mentioned, we're excited to gather as many reflections and comments about experiences as they pertain to the Women and Children's Hospital. It's been a part of our history for so long. There are obviously wonderful stories from the hospital. There are challenging stories and sad stories out of the hospital. And we'd like to make this be a very comprehensive and unifying kind of commemorative event. There's also some opportunities we're exploring in terms of hosting the virtual meeting via Facebook Live and or via some of the county channels. So we will keep you informed as we know more, and we're excited to be able to move forward even in the sense of hosting a virtual event. Although it is sad that we will not be able to be in person, it does feel like that's not a possibility at this time. So thank you so much, Monica, for the update, and we're excited to kind of continue the conversation and figure out with the HICP membership so that we can just host a wonderful ceremony.
One quick question, if I might. Monica, is there any material that's going to be created so that we can, the HICP members can help spread the word? And if so, when?
So we have to finalize the date. Once that gets finalized, we'll have a flyer, save the date kind of cards kind of thing, but we will be providing all of that to the membership, and then so they can share that. And then I'm thinking that we'll probably have a little like as far as the testimonials of what might people want to share, and as part of that, like a little like if you would like to share like this kind of like for the testimonials, have like a little like these are the things that maybe you might be interested in sharing. You know what I mean? Like a like,
a template of sorts to help them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of, but we'll send that out to the partnership as soon as, once we finalize the date, everything will follow after that.
Great. We're all looking forward to it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Moving on in our agenda, we now have an update from Alicia Ramos and Ismael Castro on the Restorative Care Village. Alicia.
Good morning. Hi, hopefully you can hear me.
You sound great, Alicia. We hear you, we see you. Wow, fantastic.
Okay, great. So again, my name is Alicia Ramos, and I'm with LA County Public Works. And I'm going to, along with a few other folks joining us for this portion, want to update you on some of the projects we're doing on the campus with a specific emphasis on the civic arts component for a few of our projects. So I'm going to ask Heather to scroll through to the next slide, if you would, Heather. Okay. So a quick update on Women's and Children's Hospital demolition, which is the building that we just heard from Monica about. And I wanted to give an update to the demolition of the building. We've taken care of all the contents. We've been reporting on the hazmat, hazardous material abatement from inside, and removal of all the contents. And so now it's the structural demolition of the building itself, which is why Monica, her presentation and reflection on the commemoration ceremony is so important, because obviously we've done things on the inside of the building, but once we do the structural demolition, the building will be gone. So we intend to take the project to the board in September for award of a demolition contract. That demolition contract will essentially take down the building. It does have a basement as well, so there is going to be at some point a rather large hole in the parcel, but we will be filling that back up. But Monica also mentioned a time capsule, and I just wanted to spend a little bit on that. The building does have a time capsule that was located in the building when it was created, and we will be strategically locating it and removing it so that we can preserve that and keep it for the future, and hopefully decide what we do with that. We're going to add to the time capsule, if we're going to include it on the campus somewhere later in another development. It's an exciting part of the project, so I just wanted to make mention of that. Heather, if we could move to the next slide, please.
Oh my Lord, what's going on? I am trying. There we
go. All right. Okay, so now we're going to focus on the civic arts component to two of the projects that we have on the campus right now. What you see in front of you is the Restorative Care Village, which is under construction right now. If you've been on the campus recently, you see a lot of earthwork and a lot of dirt moving along the Zonal and State Street intersection there. So what I want to focus on, the reason I have this slide up is because this is a bird's eye view from the top of how we're laying out the 5 buildings for the RCV. What I want to focus on, I don't know, Heather, if there's a chance you can kind of focus on the top building here, the 3 that are lined up along Zonal. Mm-hmm. So each one of these buildings, there it is, Heather, thank you. So each of these buildings that you see, the 3 that happen one after the other along Zonal Avenue, and then there's one on the interior here, which kind of stands by itself. Each one of those left side walls is going to receive a mural. And so there's 4 buildings here, 4 artists, 4 murals that we will be placing. And I want you to get some orientation for where you're going to see it. When you come down Zonal, that's where you're going to see the first one. And the others will have slightly different views depending on where you're standing, but for the most part, coming into the campus area, that's where you'll be able to, on a pedestrian level, see this artwork in much more detail. If we could go to the next slide, Heather. So here's a sample that shows one of our artists. This shows the work of Lorenzo Hurtado Segovia. He's one of our successful artists, and you can see his image, which has the tree in the background. There's a lot of imagery here. These artists put a lot of consideration into the images that they provided, and that the community, as well as the larger civic arts process, had a chance to participate in. And so we will be asking Ismail to speak about that in a little bit. Let's go to the next slide, Heather. This is a detailed image of what Lorenzo provided for us in his artwork. And if I could, Ismail, can I lean on you for a little bit of reflection as to your thoughts, impressions, and the community's response to Lorenzo's art proposal?
Hi, yeah, hi everyone. Of course. I think I just want to add that this engagement process has been a learning space, and I think it's been one of those spaces that has truly listened to community voice and input to guide the process. And I think along with other people who participated, we were truly able to I guess be part of changing some dynamics. And in terms of like the response to the artists, there was a lot of great conversations about what our community represented and the different symbolisms that represented not just one community, right, but really tried to capture the larger community that surrounds the hospital. Yeah, and I'll keep it short, but I think in essence that's my reflection from the space, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be part of the process.
Thank you so much, Ismail. I really appreciate that, and I also want to reflect on how much time dedication the community gave to this process. You know, it is a fun process, but I think any one of the committee members will tell you that it is a dedication. There's time that has to be put aside for this, and we're very appreciative of the community members that took part in this and gave it so much sincerity in the process. So thank you so much. And then Heather, if we could move to the next slide. This is our other artist. This is Jamie Shalnick, and she works with more of a collection of images, photographic images. So much of what you see in this collection in front of you on the screen, hopefully it resonates with what you've seen throughout your local neighborhoods. And so I think that that's a very enriching image that I think many people will be able to see and have some connection and reflection to. Next slide, Heather. This artist, Patrick Martinez, has provided us what is essentially these threefold images, and inspired by a lot of familial reflection. I myself connect to this image quite a bit because as a young child growing up, my own mother made these cakes that were so colorful and such a huge part of family celebration. And I think there's a lot more that other people can connect to also. But again, another beautiful image coming from our artist, Patrick Martinez. Next slide, Heather. There you go. And this is from our artist, Star Montana. If you can see, it's obviously a photographic image, and it gives a neighboring community here, but in the distance you can see what is essentially downtown LA. So a lot of imagery here from these four artists that really reflects quite a range of experience in the Los Angeles area, and quite a collection of the different cultures that we have throughout this community. So we're very proud of the process and happy to share these images with you. Now the next.
Sorry, Alicia, can I just step in for a moment? Hi, everybody. This is Iris from Civic Art Department. Can you go back? I just want to make sure. I just want to clarify a couple of things. So, and just make sure we're all on the same page together. So, all these murals will be made out of tile. So they're going to be permanent murals, which was actually kind of a big achievement to get all the budgets to work out right. And I just want everybody to just take note of how much work the artists put into it, and also like some small shifts that happened. So one thing here to show Lorenzo Hurtado Segovio's final, that tree that you see is actually the tree at the child care center. He took photos of the tree at the child care center and incorporated that into the mural so that there would be a connection throughout the campus of this iconic tree. And I don't know if you can all see the various different papel picados, but a lot of the comments that were discussed in the meetings are in there. Like there's elote in there, there's a guitar there, there's bougainvillea, and I think that this is something where people will see this image, and every time they go back, they'll discover you know, another little secret. These, with Jamie's image, the next image, and with Patrick's image, I just wanted to point out that these murals are actually going to be in 3 parts. So what you're seeing, and with what you're seeing, the way you're seeing it on the page is the way it's going to be. So there's sort of one field of tile and then a middle piece and then another field of tile on the right. And this was done for budgetary reasons and for reasons of visibility. This mural is going to be right behind Lorenzo's mural. And can we go to the next slide? Thank you. And Patrick Martinez's mural, similarly, the way it's structured, will be right behind Jamie's mural. And just so everybody knows, the reasoning behind this is Patrick's mural has a lot of blue, Lorenzo's has a lot of blue. We didn't want those two blues to clash. And so that's why the sequence is the community was really excited about having Lorenzo's mural in that first place. And that's why it's then Jamie's, then Patrick. I just want everybody to know exactly what we're all, you know, all the considerations that were in place. And then of course Star's mural. So I just wanted to add those little things just so there are no surprises when the murals start going up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Iris. And for everyone, Iris Rain is with our Civic Arts Department, and she has led us through the Civic Arts process. So thank you for that added input, Iris, because absolutely, there's several dimensions to this process, and so much thought was given, not just to the images themselves, but to the feedback that went to the artists. The artists came and they were able to take questions, ask questions of the community so that what they gave back was their concepts, but also incorporated a lot of what they learned from the community members themselves. So it really is a dynamic process, and it has so many layers that I think gives such a richness to it. Thank you so much, Iris.
Thank you.
Heather, if we can go to the slide that has the Child Care Center, should be there. There it is. So this project is the Child Care Center, which Iris referred to with the tree that is in the image from Lorenzo, our artist Lorenzo. The Child Care Center project is underway. There is basically clearing of the site that's been going on, prepping it for the construction that will follow soon. And this is our next project where the civics art process will begin. And so what I want to show here in front of you is the general rendering of the Child Care Center. And there is a particular wall that we have focused for a mural. And if you can go to the next slide, Heather. This is the specific wall that we have the mural focus on, and that is the subject area that we'll be looking at for the next civic arts process. So I'm gonna hand it over to Iris now to take us through the preliminary schedule and process for the Child Care Center Civic Arts.
And I just, thank you so much, Alicia. And I just wanted everyone to note that this is a mural that obviously addresses the exterior of the building, and everybody will see it coming in, but it also creates sort of its own little waiting space, that there will be benches around there. And so there'll be a lot of opportunity for staff and parents and kids to really engage with this mural. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So I think a number of you who've been on this call have been a part of the previous process of the artwork, artist, and then artwork selection for LAC USC. And as Ismail said, it's been a learning process for all of us, and so we're taking some of the lessons that we learned and adding them into our process for this artwork. And so I wanted to just sort of talk through what our sort of the standard process is, but then where we've added some additional actually requests to the community for input. And I realize this is going to mean more effort on the community's part, and so we really appreciate all the help that we've had on the previous project, and we're really thrilled with the outcomes. So at the last HICP, there was an announcement of the upcoming civic art opportunity, and there was already mention of this mural, and we're very excited about the way this mural and the other murals can potentially interact, and LACUSC is going to become this site that is very full of art and joy in that way. So one of the things that I would like to, where I'd like to plant a little seed, is that we are asking, we have this new mural opportunity, and we'd really like to reach out to you for any recommendations of artists who will be able to participate in the upcoming process. So the process is that we will publish what's called a request for qualifications, called an RFQ, where artists submit 10 images of their work and a little statement, and that will be a general announcement. But I already, and this RFQ will be released in September, but I'd already like to ask you if you have any artists or arts organizations you know of that might have artists that would be able to do this mural or would be interested in participating in this process. Please get back to me or to Rosa with names. And I'm also reaching out to arts organizations that we know in the area for the same reason. So this is a very, this is a time where we're really asking you to think about, you know, if you've seen a mural you like, if there was an artist you like, please give us those names, because we want to make sure that this opportunity is open to as many people as possible, and to as many artists as you know of and are interested in. So that's one thing. Then in September, this request for qualifications goes out. That will be emailed to all contacts that we hear of from you, and also civic art. We have lots of artist lists and art organization lists. Yes, I will post that. Thank you, Brenda. And it will also appear on our website. We also, you know, we will of course send it to Self-Help Graphics so that they can distribute it, right? The idea is to get this RFQ out as far as possible. Then the artists will be, anyone who participates will be assembling their 10 images and getting us those submittals. The deadline will be in October. And then we will have an artist selection committee that will narrow down these artists' names to several artists that will then submit proposals. And so we've put together, we're in the process now of putting together this committee. There will be 2 voting community representatives. And I know Rosa's been working on that. One will be a representative from HICP. One will be a representative from the parent advisory group that's been helping on the design of the child care center. Just like with the LACUSC process, we invite all community members that want to attend. It's an unlimited number of advisors, and we can do the same breakout sessions, right? Whatever we think worked before, and whatever you think worked before is sort of how we can proceed in structuring these meetings. The representative from DHS will be Jorge Orozco. We have also hired an arts professional. In this case, the arts professional will be Star Montana, who is one of the artists at LACUSC Restorative Care Village, and she is also an educator, and she is from Boyle Heights, so she's very, very knowledgeable both about artwork and about the community. So we're really thrilled that she is helping us and coming on board. After this project coordination committee selects proposals, then the selected artists or select artists, then the selected artists will work on proposals, and that takes about 6 weeks. And then the same committee will get together and select down which proposal they think is the best. So this will be similar to the meetings we had with LACUSC. Again, as many non-voting advisors from the community are invited, just like in the LACUSC Restorative Care Village projects. So then in January, we will share the final proposals, and then the artwork will get fabricated and installed. And actually, what I didn't include on this list is we're also looking for, we know this is going to be murals that will be permanent, and it will most likely be either tile or mosaic. And we're also looking for tile and mosaic installers. So we're also, that is also a request that I meant to add on here and somehow left off. So we're both looking for artists and also for tile and mosaic installers. So I'm going to add my email to the chat. And does anybody have any questions?
Any questions on the childcare art project that's coming in the remainder of the year, or on the updates provided on the civic arts project for the Restorative Care Village? The renderings are beautiful. It's so exciting to see this come to fruition and really see the color and the detail for these beautiful, beautiful art pieces that will be installed on our campus and be visible from the drive up and down zonal. It's really an incredible feat, and it's very exciting that there was such a community engagement process to really connect the artwork to the local residents and the community culture.
We do have one question in the chat, and that is Brenda would like to know if the information that you've just shared will be in a flyer form, and how will it be distributed?
Yes, so it will be distributed in a printable flyer form, and it will be on the LA County Arts website, and in a downloadable format. And someone asked for my phone number. I have to say, during this time of COVID, we're teleworking, and so phone numbers are a little complicated. So I think email is probably the best way to reach me. And we've also obviously been in collaboration with the Wellness Center on this. I think if anybody sends an artist name to the Wellness Center, they will get it to us. So we're all collaborating here.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
We're proud partners with you, Iris, and with DPW. So we're happy to, anything that comes our way related to the civic arts projects on the campus, we will happily share back with the committee leadership.
And if you're asking about, I guess the question is for families that don't have internet access. You know, I guess this is a question. Should we print out some of these and deliver them to the Wellness Center? We could print out some of these RFQs and deliver them to the Wellness Center. Would that help? Would that help with issues of access? Because we are more than happy to, or I'm more than happy to do that.
I think it's a wonderful idea to, make sure that we have the electronic version of the flyer, which we can disseminate most broadly, and then potentially printed versions that can go in some of our targeted outreach. We are doing a lot of, we're not open, the Wellness Center is not open to clients at this time, but we are doing a lot of outreach in the community related to food distribution. And we do have partner agencies, I think, as you've mentioned, Self-Help Graphics, the Casa 0101. There's certain organizations that I think would have a great network of artists. So I feel like that would be a terrific thing to be able to have hard copy flyers in certain key destinations.
This is really great feedback. We will absolutely do that. So an RFQ, this is sort of government language, is a request for qualifications. And what this is we ask the artist to submit usually 10 images of their work and an artist statement. And this is a way that we can narrow down the many submittals we get to find artists that are most suitable for this particular project, right? So maybe artists that already have work in tile, maybe artists that where the content of their work is most suitable for a child care center. I don't know yet, because we have to see what we're going to get. So this is yes, it's part of the process of finding the artist.
We have another question. Will the art and installation be separate efforts?
I'm not sure I entirely understand the question. Can that be, could someone Alex, restate that? Or
Yeah, I was trying to make it a quick question. What I was
Sure.
what I was referring to is the art component, as in the creation of the artistic piece. And you mentioned that you were also looking to find installers.
Yes.
I'm sure to mount the art
Yes.
once it's over. Will those be under the same RFQ, or will those be separate efforts for the installation? Or are you looking more to send it out as a team?
This is a really good question. So the way our contracts work, and this has to do with how finances are structured, and is the artists subcontracts to the installer. So the artist, part of the artist fee is also the installation fee, and then they write they notify us who their installer will be, and the installer needs to be highly qualified. For instance, an installer needs to be prevailing wage certified on any LA County government construction. So, you know, my friend who does my shower won't necessarily be someone who's eligible for this public art installation. So we help the artists sort of navigate and figure out who their installer could be, but the contract for the installer is actually with the artist. Does that explain it, Alex? So
Absolutely.
The RFQ really is all about the art, and then nested in there is the art and the artist, and then nested in there at a later point is this issue of the installer. What we do though, and this is something that I really want the community to be aware of, is we keep a list of installers and fabricators that we don't recommend, but we just sort of have a list that we share with artists. So if anyone knows art installers or fabricators, they can always be added to that list.
Great, thank you.
Long answer to short question.
No, that was great.
Sorry about
that's
that.
why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Everybody needs to know that these folks that are going to participate need to be vetted. You know, that there will be the oversight. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Thank you so much, Iris, Alicia,
Thank
and
you.
Ismael, for that wonderful
you.
presentation. We're so excited to see such great, beautiful works coming to our campus soon. And I know the entire HICP is really enthusiastic about seeing what will happen. So it's fantastic to know how to participate more thoroughly in the process and getting the word out for the second round of Artists to Apply. With that, I think we're ready to pivot to a presentation by Jorge Orozco from the Medical Center. Jorge has asked for us to share a video, so bear with me for 1 minute while I get the video ready to go. Is Jorge on the line with us?
Heather,
Yes.
he has agreed to share his screen also, so that
Okay.
is the other option.
Either way, I'm ready to go. I'm pretty confident I'm ready to go. It's always like, until it works, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm pretty confident it should work. So I can do it that way, or Jorge can do it himself as he prefers. Hey, Jorge. There you are. Jorge, would you like to share your screen, or would you like me to play the video on my screen? What's your preference? Uh-oh, your audio doesn't seem to be working. We're not getting your audio coming through to us, Jorge. Can you check if you're muted? You're not muted on our end.
I think he'll have to, Jorge, I think you're going to have to log out and log back in.
I can go ahead and start with the share screen of the video that Jorge wanted to share with us. It's the LAC USC Medical Center ICU interview with Monica Escobar. So I think we're ready to go when Jorge comes back. Can everyone see the video screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. I think Jorge, we just readmitted Jorge to the meeting. So fingers crossed, the technology is working in our favor today. Okay, bear with us through the technical challenges. Thank you. Does anyone have questions they'd particularly like to ask to Jorge? We could start collecting those questions now and put them in the chat. There's Jorge. I don't know, Jorge, I'm so sorry. It's like the audio just does not seem to be working properly. I wonder if you could try calling in. I just don't know what to think. Yeah, the microphone on off. You want me to go ahead and start playing the video? You're going to call in by phone. Okay, awesome. You want me to play the video? I'll go ahead and click play. All right, we'll get the video going so we can enjoy that.
Taking care of somebody who's really ill, and that you could actually really make a difference in them getting better and walking out of the hospital. Today, I don't know if I'm going to be the last person to be able to help that person communicate with their loved one. If I'm going to be the last person to hear them talk. I'm going to be the last person to pray with them, which is one of the things that I didn't do before that I now find myself doing. More than anything, what has really changed is not knowing if I'm going to go home and not expose my family. That's probably the biggest thing that I am dealing with right now.
Because you used to come into work as a nurse knowing that you were taking care of somebody who was really ill and that you could actually really make a difference in them getting better and walking out of the hospital. Today, I don't know if I'm going to be the last person to be able to help that person communicate with their loved one, if I'm going to be the last person to hear them talk. if I'm going to be the last person to pray with them, which is one of the things that I didn't do before that I now find myself doing. More than anything, what has really changed is not knowing if I'm going to go home and not expose my family. That's probably the biggest thing that I am dealing with right now. Because you are the only person that they have right now. Whether they're sedated, whether they're awake, you're it. And before, at least you knew that you had social workers, you had people that were in the backgrounds trying to find their families, their loved ones. Now, even though they still are, the reality exists that even if they find the family, they may not be alive to see them. And that is a huge toll to take every day, knowing that you're the only person, or maybe the last person who speaks to them. I don't feel I'm a hero. I feel I'm doing the job that I did every day, with the exception that every day I come into work, my life is at risk. My coworkers' lives are at risk. But if I have one thing to say is that today, this very day, we are a family. We are a family that comes to work every single day, knowing that we have to cover each other's backs no matter what, because it could mean the difference between life and death. I am proud to work with the nurses that I work with today. The nurses that have come every single day since March to work here, to take care of these people, to put our own personal needs aside. Some of us having immunocompromised family members at home. Some of us have children. Some of us come to work with the reality that you might die and not be here for them. But you know that you're needed right now, and that the skills that we have make us come to work. We're needed here. We have to put ourselves second, because we make the difference between somebody's life and death. So today I have to say thank you to all my coworkers for coming to work every single day and having my back.
I think with that, we'll ask Jorge, who has joined us, I believe, with audio now, to follow up on that very moving video.
Thank you, Heather. Can you all hear me now?
We can.
Okay. So I just wanted to share a perspective that Monica, one of our nurses in our ICUs, shared with us on video. We think about the pandemic and what's happening, and really the hard physical work that it takes to care for these patients. But as you saw in the video, really the emotional, the psychological trauma that our staff are going through on a daily basis is so unique to what they've experienced before. And I think Monica does a really good job, and they're really trying to express kind of how difficult this work is. Fortunately, at LEC USC, we're in a better place today than we were a couple of weeks ago. Today we have 69 patients with COVID-19 here in our hospital. 32 of those are in ICU, and 22 of those are on ventilators. So even though our numbers are lower than they were a few weeks ago when we peaked at about 125 patients with COVID, people are still very ill and getting sick. We have seen a trend down in terms of the age range of the patients that are coming to us. And our healthcare system is, although it's it's handling the volumes now. It does not take a lot of surge to put us into a crisis mode. We have 6 available ICU beds today. And, you know, that's not a lot, especially since we're one of the largest ICUs in the county with about 122 ICU beds. You know, 6 is not a lot of cushion that we have. Let's see, what else? We do have a team of clinicians here from the Department of Defense. They're Air Force medics, nurses, respiratory therapists, physicians. They've been here a week and a half, I believe, and they'll be with us for 30 days. We really needed them when we were up at 120 something patients with COVID. But today, it's a different story. So you never know, and it's very hard to predict kind of the volumes that are coming in. Let's see. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
We have a question from Pamela. She'd like to know if there has been a change in insured and uninsured patient numbers for the medical center since March. She's wondering if this may be an indication of folks remaining unemployed or not.
Yeah, you know, I haven't seen the numbers specifically for the hospital, but I think the industry was really predicting that big change in enrollment into Medi-Cal managed care because of loss of employment. But unfortunately, we have not seen the significant change in that enrollment, whether it's barriers to enrollment, awareness of the program. You know, a lot of these enrollment initiatives are on hold right now. So I probably would predict a delayed increase in that because, you know, obviously many people are still off of work and are losing their employer covered health care.
Brenda would like to know if there's been an increase number of homeless patients.
Yeah, I would have to look. LAC USC has there's a significant number of homeless in terms of our patient population, averaging between 15 to 20% of our emergency room visits. I don't know whether that's gone up or not, so I'd have to check.
Do we have any other questions?
Hi, this is Monica. I just wanted to say that, so I have a friend, her father just passed, and then now her mom's in the hospital, and, you know, I know how hard it is for the family, but just to see the side of the nurses, you know, they have to, this is probably something common, not common, but like they have to go through this, you know, people passing and just them being that person. Just really thank the nurses and the staff at the hospital. And it's so heartbreaking. And, you know, just thank you guys for everything that you guys are doing. And I think helping for the community to understand and having these videos to like help them understand, like, this is real, like people's lives are at stake. And we know that all these, that people are having these parties and, you know, and we see that's why the numbers of people that are infected are younger. I just want to thank you guys. That's all I want to say. Just thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing.
Well, thank you, Monica.
Hey, good morning, Jorge. That was heartbreaking and quite confronting. I agree with Monica. This is great that this is publicly this reality is publicly available, and people need to be able to see this to really understand the severity of the situation and know that the ebbs and flows are, well, not a sign that we should be putting our guards down by any stretch of the imagination. So thank you for this. This is great for us in the community to be able to share this with our communities. Again, to get the truth out. But I was wondering, is there any other avenues that LAC USC would be able to share with us to most effectively be able to help in one, hopefully have an avenue to be able to help in alleviate any of this, maybe the stresses on the staff, or help in any capacity, and as well as sharing the truth about what's going on out at LAC USC with the community.
Yeah. Thank you. First, the video, there was also a piece run on the Today Show this week on the hospital, and this video of our nurse, and we're happy to share the links so you can share with your networks as well. In terms of help, you know, one of the big stressors right now is kids not being able to go back to school and having to have their instruction be done via video. And so we're really concerned, and our staff are really concerned of what are they going to do. It's not a typical daycare need. It's a need more of, you know, someone who can sit with the kids and be able to, you know, learn under this new format. And one of the things we're considering and we're working on is to create kind of like a learning lab here with internet access, computers, and with, you know, supervision and some tutoring here for the kids. You know, we have needs. We were going to do it with volunteers and staff, but if we can get any sort of help with that, you know, we're going to need to feed the kids. We're going to need to have people with some sort of expertise in terms of, you know, being able to supervise kids under this sort of learning environment. You know, and we're early in the planning process, but if anyone has any suggestions or help that they can offer, we'd really appreciate it.
We have a question from Yolanda. She'd like to know what is being tracked most and why, such as deaths, positivity, etc.
We're tracking everything. We're tracking deaths. We're tracking positivity rates. We're tracking daily admissions, daily positives. We're tracking employee exposures. We're tracking employee confirmed COVID cases. So there's a daily dashboard that is submitted up to the state that goes all the way up to the federal government that's looking at all of these kinds of metrics.
Okay.
I mean, for us, probably the most important one is ICU capacity, because that's been the bottleneck in our healthcare system. So that's probably the one that we keep the closest eye on.
And then we have another question from Brenda. She'd like to know that if someone is found to have the virus in their lungs, do they have to be hospitalized?
Yeah, great question. You know, the virus often affects the respiratory system, but it also affects other systems like the GI system, our sort of gastrointestinal systems, our cardiac system. So it's so new that people don't totally understand it. If it's impacting your ability to breathe and get enough oxygen, you don't necessarily need to be hospitalized. We've created a real innovative program, which is a safe at home oxygen program. So if you come into our emergency room and we see that your blood isn't getting enough oxygen because of this, we're able to send oxygen tank with you to get home, and then a more home unit oxygen tank that you can use and monitor yourself on a daily basis. And then we have our nurses and doctors call you every single day to make sure that you're okay and you're not getting worse, and sort of progress you through that program. That has been really, really an important program for us, because without that program, those individuals would likely have to be hospitalized. But it has allowed us to keep people at home, and people don't want to be in the hospital at this time. You don't have visitors. It's not a good place to be. So I think people are very happy that they have this option to stay home.
Jorge, this is Ozzy. I have a question regarding the video that you just showed. You know, during Memorial Day weekend, my best friend's mother went to a gathering, and as we speak, she's in the ICU, and she contracted COVID-19, and hopefully, you know, through prayers and help and science, she's going to be able to make it. But the video is very impactful in terms of really putting a face to the work that's going on behind the scenes. And you mentioned that the hospital was featured on USC. Is there a Spanish video that you have that could be shared with our local, you know, Spanish-speaking broadcast stations to really highlight and emphasize the impact that COVID-19 is having in our communities?
Yeah, great suggestion. I mean, we also have been featured in Univision and Telemundo, and so we have links to those as well. But I think this video, you know, it's a great suggestion, and Monica is bilingual, and we might see if she's willing to sort of share a similar story in Spanish and share that with the media.
Okay, yeah, and if you could share the links, that would be great. That way we can get it out to within our network.
Okay, I'll get those over to Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question. Does Medi-Cal cover the oxygen program? For the
Yes.
oxygen therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
It is all covered. Mm-hmm.
And a question that's related, have most folks been covered with insurance, or are there more people that are coming in without insurance?
So what happens here, so typically our uninsured rate is about 8 to 10%, which is low. And it's low because of the Affordable Care Act. With the expansion of Medi-Cal managed care, many individuals who used to be uninsured, you know, now qualify for that coverage. You know, if someone, because they lost their job, but meets all the criteria for Medi-Cal, when they arrive at our hospital, even though they're uninsured, they don't have insurance, we enroll them. So the numbers of uninsured, which typically represent you know, individuals with you know, whose immigration status doesn't allow them to qualify for that, have been relatively stable. You know, we do see many patients coming in who don't have insurance but do qualify, and they get enrolled.
And I'd like to remind everyone, the Wellness Center is a great partner. We are enrolling folks in insurance programs and supporting getting them connected with wraparound services as well. So if you find folks in need, please refer them to us. Rosa has included our contact information in the chat, but we're open and working with folks and trying to get folks what they need. One more question we have. What are the considerations that the medical staff needs to think through before letting a patient leave with an oxygen tank?
I think it's severity of disease. One of the things they do is they put a pulse oximeter, which is a little machine that you put on your thumb or your finger, and it measures how much oxygen is in your blood. And there's criteria. So if, you know, without oxygen, it's low, it's below 90%, and you put, say, 1 liter of oxygen, which is the low amount of oxygen, and it goes up to 95%, that's a really good candidate for a home program. But there are some patients when you put them on, say, 5 liters of oxygen, and which is, you know, more, and yet their oxygenation doesn't get up to 94, 95% or beyond. Those are patients that likely need to be admitted. So we monitor the amount of supplemental oxygen versus their blood oxygenation to make a determination of who can go home and who needs to be admitted.
Yeah, Jorge, I think the question that Pamela was raising was really around what guidance is given to people who go home with oxygen. She commented a situation that her mother was involved with where a young person passed away because he had disconnected his oxygen. And I, from what I'm understanding from the comment, while he was at home, he disconnected his oxygen and then he ended up passing.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, obviously education in terms of the use of the machine and safety is paramount. We have a training video that is available to them to remind them. They get trained before they leave. And then we check in with them on a daily basis, you know, to answer any questions. But yeah, that's a important concern.
Thank you so much for your time today, Jorge. We have a lot of wonderful comments that just reflect our gratitude and appreciation to you and your team, their incredible effort, and the challenges that you guys are experiencing today, but we also see may continue and be with us for some time to come. So we want to do what we can to support, and we're just so incredibly grateful for the ongoing commitment and efforts displayed by the incredible team at LAC USC Medical Center.
Thank you all.
Thank you again for that wonderful presentation and video. When we respond back with the materials from this meeting, we'll try to share back those links that Jorge mentioned that reflect not only this video of Monica in English, but a Spanish language version as well, so we can share that more broadly with our communities. With that, next on our presentation agenda, we have an update from Martin Reyes about transportation. We've been pending on this issue for a long time. Martin, thank you so much for joining us today and bringing us these great updates. There's a lot going on, and I know we're all interested to know more. So with that, I'll turn it over to Martin.
Great. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Before I begin, just wanted to echo what Heather said and say thank you to Jorge and everybody at LAUSC for all the work that you're doing, you know, now and before the pandemic. I don't think words can express how thankful and appreciative our office is, and everybody on this call, I'm sure, of all the work that everyone is doing on the front line. So thank you, Jorge, for everything and your presentation. Good morning, everybody. My name is Martin Reyes. I'm the Transportation Deputy for Supervisor Hilda Solis. I think the last time I did a presentation here for everybody was about a year ago. So we wanted to come back and do another update for everybody just to let everyone know where we're at. I'm a member of the planning team over here at our office, and the planning team collectively handles issues related to transportation, infrastructure, land use, housing, parks, workforce, economic development. And I know you work very closely with some of our other planning team members, including Wakas, who leads the planning team, and Guadalupe, who's you know, leading the charge on LAC USC campus work. So, you know, with that, I'll get started with the presentation. So my presentation mainly is centered on the 710 North Mobility Improvements projects. And this is a pot of funding from Metro that resulted from the decision not to move forward with the 710 North Tunnel. So if you recall, in 2017, during the finalization of the environmental document for the 710 North Tunnel, the Metro Board decided to choose the TSM-TDM alternative rather than any other alternative in that EIR. And that essentially meant that whatever money was allocated towards this project would be utilized instead for local road improvements. So there was about $1 billion that was reserved for this project. About 700 million of that came from local sales tax measure, Measure R, and there was about 300 million from state and federal funding sources. So in 2017, when that decision was made, it was decided that the $1 billion would go instead to the San Gabriel Valley cities nearby, and the city of LA and the county of LA. And this funding is primarily intended to be used for north-south mobility improvements, essentially to replace the 710 North project. Next slide, please. And please feel free to stop me at any time if anybody has any questions or needs any clarifications on anything I'm presenting about. So as I mentioned, a portion of that $1 billion has gone to the city of LA and the county of LA, and that was split half and half, 150 million for unincorporated East LA and 150 million for the city of LA, including neighborhoods like El Sereno, neighborhoods in Northeast LA, and a few others as well that are near and adjacent to the 710 North corridor. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about both of the programs of funding for both LA County and the city of LA. Most of the funding that the county has for unincorporated East LA is available next fiscal year, starting fiscal year 21-22. And our program of projects, I've divided it into two categories. Just for the sake of discussion, there are traffic sync synchronization projects, and there are infrastructure projects. So the next couple of slides will go over each of those briefly. Next slide, please. So this is a list of the traffic synchronization projects that are included in our program as of now. So out of the 150 million for unincorporated East LA, there's about 30 million dedicated towards traffic synchronization projects. And these projects are really geared towards meeting the goals of Metro's directions in giving this $1 billion to local jurisdictions. And that's improving mobility for traffic. So these projects are primarily traffic synchronization projects. So the county will often go up and down different corridors throughout the county. And a lot of these pass through both unincorporated and cities. So you'll notice that the second project on this list, which is Arizona, Monterey, Fremont, that actually goes through several different jurisdictions, including East LA. But these projects are primarily intended to sync traffic signals up and down a particular corridor to better move traffic throughout. So this is our list of traffic sync projects, which is about $30 million. And if we could go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about our infrastructure projects, which make up the bulk of what we would like to spend the $150 million on. So going down the list, and I'm not going to give a comprehensive description on all of these, but going down the list, you can see we have about 120 million that's designated for a variety of different projects. Some of these are transit improvement projects. So we have a couple of projects here focused on the El Sol shuttle lines, which is an unincorporated East LA shuttle line that we run through our County Public Works Department, and our wellness shuttle, which is similar but also operates around LAC USC campus, and that's also led by our Public Works Department. Both of these projects we're going to be looking at electrifying as part of our the funding that we're receiving from Metro. These other projects are largely corridor projects. So what we've done here is identified key corridors throughout the East LA community, like Cesar Chavez, Olympic, Floral, and Whittier. And we've put these placeholder amounts right next to them. So you could see, for example, Whittier Boulevard has about 8 million in placeholder funding. Floral Drive has about 5 million in placeholder funding. So we've identified these corridors, and we've identified a general scope, but there aren't any specific improvements proposed for any of these yet. And that goes for pretty much all of these infrastructure projects. The reason for that being is that during the allocation of these funds, Metro did not give enough time for the county or any other city to really do a robust community outreach process. So what we've done here is we've added these placeholder funds, and we're going to be implementing a broad, comprehensive planning effort for all of these projects. So in the next year, LA County Public Works will be going out to the East LA community to do a broad community outreach and engagement effort to start building the scope of these projects in partnership with the community. So all of these projects here that you see, none of them have a really well-defined scope, and that's done intentionally because we want to build that scope together with the community. I do want to point out one particular project here, and that's the third to last project in the list. It's the LA County USC Medical Center Mobility Improvements project. And this ties into what I'm going to talk about in a minute, but the county has decided to allocate 30 million of our funding of the 120 million towards improvements around the LAC USC Medical Center campus. So similar to what I just mentioned for the projects in East LA, this line item, the 30 million for LAC USC, does not have a well-defined scope. And actually, we're going to be working with our Chief Executive Office, the General Hospital feasibility study team, our Public Works team working on the Restorative Care Village, our County Development Authority. We're going to be working together over the next week or so to figure out a strategy on how we can best use these funds. And that's likely going to start with some sort of transportation access study around LAC USC. I know there's been a lot of information that we've gleaned out of the General Hospital feasibility study so far. AECOM has done some great work looking at transportation around the General Hospital campus so far. And I think we're going to be building off of that with a more focused study on the roadways around LAC USC, looking to see how we can improve access, not only for the existing campus, but trying to plan a little bit for all of these developments that are coming our way, including the Restorative Care Village, the affordable housing, the General Hospital reuse, and other parts of the LAC USC Medical Campus. So we plan to figure out a plan on how to use these $30 million. Another use that we might have for this $30 million, I'll talk about in the next slide, is the Valley Boulevard Multimodal Transportation Improvements Project. So could we go to the next slide, please? Oh, sorry, before I get to that, I forgot about this slide. So next steps for the county's program of projects is that over this next year, Public Works is going to start an engagement effort in the East Los Angeles area, the unincorporated community. And we're going to be looking to start building these project scopes in partnership with the community. So we'll be likely engaging a CBO, community-based organization, as our partner to help us through this planning process. And the outcome of that will be, scopes that, well-defined scopes that are that we have buy-in from our East LA residents that will be built over the next 5 to 6 years. So that outreach effort will start to take place over the next year or so. And like I mentioned before, over the next week or so, our office is going to be getting together with the General Hospital and Restorative Care Village teams and the teams working on all the other projects in the LAC USC campus to figure out how a plan to best use the $30 million. And I think that's probably going to start with a study that's going to involve some outreach with HICP and the community in general. So those are some next steps for 710 North Mobility Improvements. Maybe I'll pause there. I see we have some questions in the chat, so maybe I can cover some of these before I move forward. So questions, there's a question from Rosalinda. Did the speaker just say Whittier Boulevard? Yes, I did. So there's two programs of projects here. There's one for the county unincorporated area, and there's one being led by the city of LA. So as I'm speaking today, you'll see some of these projects are actually in East LA. Some of these projects are in the city of LA, and that could be a variety of neighborhoods. It could be El Sereno, Boyle Heights, it could be Northeast LA. So it's a mix of different neighborhoods. The list of projects that I just showed you, and they're shown on the screen now, these are largely unincorporated East LA, except for the Wellness Shuttle, which does operate in the city of LA, and the LA County USC Medical Center mobility improvements. Besides those two, these are largely in East LA. Second question from Vivian. She wants to know how we can learn more about our historic Brooklyn Avenue corridor Cesar Chavez project. Even if you aren't ready with the details, we would like to be part of future discussions. So that could be a project being led by the city. I'm not familiar with a project that we have called the Historic Brooklyn Avenue Corridor Cesar Chavez project. We do have a line item here called Cesar Chavez Avenue Mobility Improvements, but that is for Cesar Chavez located in East LA, and that's a project that we haven't started yet. But if you'd like to give me your thoughts on any improvements in East LA, I'd be happy to connect after the presentation. I see
Martin?
Yes.
Martin, this is Monica. So as you know, I live in Northeast, and you know, I was at the meeting when we were talking about where some of this stuff was going, and I really want to make sure that, you know, we talk a lot about East LA, but understand that East LA is just on one side of the, you know, one side of the hospital, but we need to ensure that we're talking about Northeast. We know that we have a business or a plan, transportation plan in El Sereno. We talked about Eagle Rock and Highland Park, and when the 710 was coming through, I mean, it literally was going to come through my community, and we fought against it. So I want to see some of this stuff when you're talking about, and include Northeast, like what's going to happen there, because that's the population that we're talking about as well. It's just not East LA. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and just make sure that we are putting money into that, because I know that you've been working with CD14 as well to help with that.
Yes, thank you, Monica. And I did actually invite the City of LA for this presentation today. I was hoping they would join me, but I think because of scheduling, it just didn't work for them. I did talk to CD14 yesterday, and they would like to come to HICP in the next month or so. You know, if everybody is open to that, they would like to do a presentation to let everyone know where they're at with the city's pot of funding, which covers, Monica, like you mentioned, Northeast LA and the other communities around LACUSC. So I can't speak too much to what they're doing on their program of projects because it is being led by them, but we are working closely together to make sure that you know, the engagement efforts here are consistent, and that you know, the community is being brought in from day zero. So that is something that we're working on, and I am working closely with them. So City of LA will be happy to come back in a future HICP meeting to do a presentation for everybody. And then I see a few other questions from Alex. Are these outreach efforts in East LA going to be specific to location or broadly apply to all as a whole? And that's a really great question, actually. So if you look at the projects on the list right now, you can see it hits a lot of different corridors throughout East LA. It's not constrained to a single part of East LA. And then there are also projects here that don't have a specific location. East LA Vision Zero enhancements, for example, or East LA pedestrian accessibility improvements. Those projects probably won't have a specific location. They'll probably be spot improvements throughout East LA. So the outreach effort that we're going to be doing here is we're basically going to be reaching out to the entire community to see how we can best address priority transportation needs. And then depending on what comes back from that engagement process, we're going to be saying, okay, you know, this community resident wanted to see an improvement along this road or this intersection. Maybe we can do that improvement as part of the Atlantic Boulevard Improvements Project. Maybe we can do that improvement as part of the pedestrian accessibility improvements, or maybe as part of the Safe Routes to School project. So the outreach that we're going to be doing is going to be really broad to the entire East LA community. But when we start filtering those through those requests and through that engagement, we're going to be identifying the best project to put it on, as you can see from this list. And at the end of the day, actually, this list might not be the best list of projects that we'll put forward. We might need to go back to the Metro Board to revise this project list. So that'll all come out through this engagement process that we're going to be doing over the next year or so. But great question, Alex. Thank you. So another question from Vivian. Will above ground monorail be considered, especially since this is a transit that is good for our environment and cost effective? That's a great question. As part of this program of projects, we're not looking at any fixed rail transit, but there is a project in East LA already going on through Metro to expand that light rail system, which is called the Gold Line East Side Extension. We actually took some action on that at the Metro Board earlier this month. So the Gold Line light rail is going to be extended from East LA, its terminus on Atlantic and Pomona, and it's going to be extended down Atlantic through all the way to Whittier, and that's called the Washington Boulevard alignment. So it's going to go underground underneath the Atlantic Boulevard corridor until it gets to Washington Boulevard around the Commerce area, Citadel area. And then it's going to go above ground along Washington Boulevard all the way to Whittier. So that is a new light rail project that we're trying to get completed by 2028. So, but that's a separate effort from what's going on here, but that's a great question. I see another question from Brenda. You mentioned $1 billion collected from taxes. Can you explain that or briefly refer to me to a website? Sure, that $1 billion comes from Measure R. 700 of that comes from Measure R, which is a local sales tax measure that was passed in 2008 by the voters. And back in 2008, the voters basically approved an expenditure plan of how to spend a new sales tax that was passed. And it was agreed, that 700 million of that would go towards this project. In addition to that, Metro had identified some additional state and federal funds that could be used for this project. But after the project was, essentially canceled, and we chose the TSM TDM alternative, which is basically the no build alternative, that $1 billion in local sales tax money and state and federal tax money was instead used for the projects that I'm talking about today and projects that are going on in the San Gabriel Valley. So maybe if I, before I get to the rest of these questions, I'll quickly finish the presentation and I'll go back to these and answer as many as I can within the time that I have. I know I'm running out of time here, so I'll quickly finish this up. So the Valley Boulevard Multimodal Transportation Improvements Project. This is a project that's being led by the City of LA, and it's going to be a project that the City of LA will come back and talk about in maybe the next month or so at a future HICP meeting. This project is going to be looking at different sort of improvements along the Valley Boulevard corridor just north of the LAC USC campus. And they're going to be looking at a variety of improvements, including potentially bus rapid transit, more walking and biking paths. And they're going to figure out some things to do about the rail corridor that's along Valley Boulevard, which makes Valley Boulevard a pretty unattractive place as of now. And this is going to be partly funded by the City of LA's 710 funding. They have about 34 million dedicated towards this project. And we may also be contributing a portion of our 30 million, which I mentioned earlier, towards this project as well. And if you go to the next slide, Heather, I'll talk a little bit about next steps for this project. So right now, the City of LA is procuring a consultant, a planning consultant for a feasibility study for this project. So the City of LA is very much in its early phases for this project. And for their first year, they're going to be going out to the community to do some engagement. So I've been working, talking pretty closely with CD14 and the rest of City LA on their plan for this project, and we've made it pretty clear that community outreach and engagement is really important to our office. I believe our office is going to be part of the evaluation panel for this procurement effort. So we're going to be working closely with the city there, and they will be coming back to HICP to do a presentation to get into a little bit more detail about what they're thinking for Valley Boulevard, and to talk about the engagement effort that they're going to be doing as part of this project. So with that, I believe that's the end of my presentation. Heather, do I have more time to answer questions, or do we need to move on? If there are any questions I'm not able to get to, I'd be happy to speak after the meeting. My contact information is on the slide. I'd be happy to speak with anyone afterwards if I can't get to your questions.
Yeah, I feel like, thank you so much, Martin, for the wonderful presentation. Obviously, it's generating a lot of interest and curiosity. I don't see so many direct questions here, but I do see a lot of commentary. So perhaps you could respond in the chat. That would be terrific.
Sure.
And like you say, we will share Martin's contact information is here on the slide in front of you. So please also feel free to email him directly some questions or requests for additional information. And, dig in a little bit on the slides that we shared with everyone to kind of, ask those specific questions that Martin can help explore further. And thank you for the offer, Martin, to have LA City, to make that invitation out for LA City to come present at one of our future meetings. Our next meeting will be the first Friday in September, September 4th. So that would be an opportunity, or potentially the October meeting. So we'll get that scheduled and make sure we're ready to go with some additional information to respond more fully to the questions posed today. So thank you again, Martin, for your time. All right, we've got a little quick feedback poll we're gonna put forth to people about the presentation on transportation, so we can explore further interest you may have in the subject and bringing additional speakers back on that topic. With this, I'd like to move forward with our next presentation. The next item on the agenda is the Third and Dangler Community Benefit Agreement discussion. We're here to discuss the proposed community benefits agreement and the potential for HICP to endorse the agreement by vote today. So with that, I'll invite Guadalupe Duran Medina from Supervisor Solis's office to begin the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Guadalupe. I'm with Supervisor Solis's office, and we're happy to be back here on the Third and Dangler. As you recall, at the last month's meeting, we had a presentation about a community benefit agreement, and the follow-up was to actually take a look at the document and finesse it and clarify it where needed. And so we had the opportunity to, with the help of Rosa and all the team, to convene an oversight committee that had different leads for the different components covered by the community benefit agreement. And so we're back. We were able to meet, and there was exchanges through email. And so what we have arrived to is a revised document that, given the input from the oversight committee members. And today we will be voting on the document again. But before doing that, I'm going to turn it over to Zoe Kreneman. She's the project manager for the Third and Dangler from National Corps. And so with that, Zoe.
Thank you, Lupe. I do not have, I don't have control over the PowerPoint, so I guess I'll just, I'll just say next slide, I suppose. Thank you everyone again for having me on. Like what Lupe said, I think we've come to a really good agreement that I hope everybody will have a chance to review, and National Corps is very excited to be partnering with everybody and carrying out this agreement and having a great project, not only housing project, but to implement all these other items that I think are going to bring a lot of benefits to the community. So just a quick overview of the project. Third and Dangler is going to be about 78, well, it's going to be 78 units, not about, it's going to be 78 units. 77 of these units are going to be affordable units, and 39 of those 77 units are going to be set aside for permanent supported housing. That means that they're going to be available for the formerly homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. One unit will be an employee unit that will be unrestricted. This is a very tight site, for those of you that know it, which is right at the corner of 3rd Street and Dangler. And because it's so tight, we are providing 2 levels of underground parking that will provide 87 parking spaces. Like Guadalupe mentioned, there will be a community advisory committee that will be formed to make sure that the CBA is implemented. And National Core, again, will work with CBOs and the committees to implement the project. Next slide, please. This is an overview of the first floor plan. One thing, will be discussed that I'll go over a little later in the presentation is that along with the 78 units, there will be a green space pocket park that is going to be provided right next to the site. We are hoping, we were actually successful in swapping some land that the county owned with the neighbor next door. So it looks like, a green area will be provided next door. Next slide, please. These are the benefit areas of the community benefits agreement. It will be focused on health and wellness, community stability and housing, economic development, workforce development. There will be an arts and culture component, safety and youth services, as well as transportation and access, because some of our funding that is provided by the state focuses a lot on transportation and pedestrian access to the community. Next slide, please. In terms of health and wellness, through the community center and through the pocket park, I feel like there will be plenty of opportunities to provide services that will support health and wellness. Has needed, there will be fitness classes, cooking. There will be an opportunity to maybe have even health screening, healthcare navigation, and other trainings. And again, this will be provided as needed by CBOs that we will be partnering with. Next slide. Along with the, community housing, community stability and housing is very important to us, not only for our residents of the housing project, but also of the surrounding community. And again, so some of these services will be provided as needed with support from community-based organizations, including healthcare access, nutritional food, sufficiency programs, rental assistance. And I do want to mention that for our 39 units that will be for permanent supported housing, there will be 2 full-time case managers that will provide services to those 39 households, so to make sure that they remain housed, which is one of the biggest challenges for our homeless provider, who will be People Assisting the Homeless, otherwise known as PATH. One of the main issues they confront most of the time is, getting people used to living indoors again. So providing services that will allow them to remain housed are very important. Next slide, please. In terms of economic development, again, through our different partners, National Core does have a sister organization called Hope Through Housing Foundation, and they will be providing one full service coordinator to coordinate all the services at the community center. And again, these are some of the services that may be included in the community center. Again, once we open up, there will be we will convene and call on CBOs to make sure that we're providing those services that are most needed. And again, there will be money management, banking skills, savings, and debt management, so that people can have economic mobility. And again, these services will be provided to not only the residents of our project, but also anybody in the community that would like to access those. In terms of opportunities for local hire and workforce development, during construction, there will be, National Corps is committed to best efforts to do 30% local hire, which is also an LACDA. You know, we are receiving funding from the Los Angeles County Development Authority and or the agency, and we are also working very closely with local workforce development agencies. There will be a committee and a task force, and we will definitely, National Corps is committed to aspire to 50% local hire. It's even, you know, what we're calling micro local in a 2-mile radius from our project. And we will be working pretty much immediately after we secure all of our funding with the local task force that we gathered to make sure that we gear up and people that are local are available and trained to be hired for the construction jobs. And then after construction is over, we intend to make all efforts to hire local people to staff the property in terms of property management and also the services positions that will be available. Next slide. Like I mentioned, National Corps has secured, we are partners with the LA County on this deal because it's going to be built on county land. And we have secured some very important state funding that is called the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities. And through this funding, the county is actually going to be able to provide a number of improvements, transit and pedestrian improvements that are included in the CBA, that are outlined in the CBA, but are going to be carried out by the LA County, the Department of Public Works. And they include 5 zero-emission buses for LA Metro and 5 zero-emission buses for Dash that are going to increase service to the East LA and Boyle Heights communities. In addition to that, for us, for National Corps, receiving this funding means that we are going to do more than the usual. National Corps, we feel we're leaders in terms of providing highly efficient buildings. But since we've received this funding, we're also going to be providing 1/3 of the energy needs to be supplied on site. And we're going to have extra green space around the property and throughout the project area, which is a mile radius from our site. We've also identified $75,000 for public artwork, and that's one of the main components, and we've included that in the CBA as well. Next, please. This is, you know, the rendering of some of the renderings of the project. This was we had numerous meetings with the community, with community stakeholders to make sure that we receive input from them in terms of color and aesthetics of the building, and identify places where the mural art or where art can go in, such as mural art. Next, please. There's some examples of the landscaping. You know, we have requirements to include drought-tolerant landscaping and also native landscaping as a requirement of our project. Next slide, please. These are some locations where we identified for the potential art. We feel, you know, through conversations with the different stakeholders and the supervisor's office, we feel that very likely we would like to include mural art, and there will be a committee that will be convened to pick criteria that reflects, you know, the East LA area culture and history. And we're very, and this is one of the things that we're probably going to engage right away after we sign off on the CBA and the DDA that is going to be executed shortly. Next slide, please. Again, this is another youth services, National Corps and Help Through Housing Foundation. We are very much focused on youth services because we have a lot of family projects in our portfolio. And I feel that throughout the conversations that we've had with the partners is that we are going to have a very, we're going to be reaching out to all the CBOs that exist already in East LA to help us, really have a broad range of services for the youth at the community center. Next slide, please. Transportation and access, like I mentioned, we received this, I think I covered some of this already. We received some special funding. So Public Works will be doing a lot of work on this around the project, and not only directly adjacent to our project, but throughout the community. And they're going to improve a lot of sidewalks. There are going to be 100 trees planted. Belvedere Park will be receiving some improvements. They're going to be doing a walking path. And like I mentioned, LA Metro and DASH will also be receiving some funding to increase bus services in the area. Next slide, please. And these are the committees that are going to be overseeing each of the areas of the CBA. We expect, I don't know, well, but you want to cover this yourself, or should I cover this myself?
You could go ahead and cover.
Sure. So HICP will be the overseer, as you know, of the entire CBA, but we'll have a dedicated committee for each of the areas. One committee for the open space, one committee for the public art, for the local hire, for the early notification of the to the residents to apply for the to receive workshops on how to apply for the housing, and the community services once the community center is open, or as soon as we're ready to open the community service. The community center will probably also convene the community centers committee, and we expect to be the National Core will coordinate with these committees to make sure that the CBA is carried out, and that we report back to HICP on all these different areas that we've committed to work on. And that's it. I think, we'll go through the next steps. Like I said, do you want to cover this? Does Rosa or Guadalupe, do you want to cover this? I feel like you.
I can go.
Yeah, thank you.
So everyone who has been part of the oversight committee, we just really want to thank you guys for the incredible efforts to ensure that everything that you have a concern that needs to be clarified, that needs information, is in the CBA. And also want to thank National Core for engaging in the CBA process in addition to your DDA, your development agreement. Because, I know that this is also an added layer of commitment, and really appreciate that there's a documentation of what these community benefits will bring. I want to make sure that if there's any other questions that need to be answered, that we can answer those and be able to feel confident in taking a vote today. If approved, then I would sign the agreement on behalf of HICP to submit to the county, to submit to Guadalupe, to submit to the county. We would then host quarterly meetings to make sure that the CBA compliance is in order. And then from there, we would move to a written update that would also be submitted to the HICP for all of you to review. There'll also be updates at the HICP on a quarterly basis, and so we're all working to ensure that there's as much transparency in this process as possible. I know there's some questions that have come through, so I will.
Yes, we have a question from Rosalinda. She'd like to know, what does the affordable housing really look like in terms of actual rent to be paid?
So rents are set by our funding sources, and they range. I'm trying to remember exactly, but the limit is going to be the units will be available for people making no more than 60% of the area median income. That means that on the top range, just so you get an idea, for the 2 bedrooms, a person, and so the units are really broken into 30%. Some units are available for 30% for those earning at 30% or less, others at 50% of area median income or less, and 60% of area median income or less. At the top range, 60%, which is the top range for this project, a 2-bedroom is somewhere in the vicinity of, and I wanna give you a bad number, so I'm just quickly cheating and looking at my, you're looking at about $1,300 for the top range. For a 50%, you're looking at about 1,100 for a 2-bedroom. For the studios, you know, the lower, which is the lower range, will be about $500, and the top range of the studios are about 700. The 1-bedrooms are gonna run around 900 for the top range. I'm not sure that was clear. It's just a little difficult because there are different ranges for the units. And so, for example, we don't have, not all units are 60%. Some of the units are for even lower income folks, if that makes sense.
Brenda would like to know if, what is the homeless criteria and process to qualify them to receive affordable housing?
Right, so for the homeless, LACDA has a very strict criteria. We applied for a risk of being homeless or formerly homeless, and they have to go through something called the
Hi, this is Monica. They for this process, they go through the coordinated entry system. And
Thank
then
you. I was like, what does CES stand for? I couldn't think of CES. The coordinated entry system, yes. Yeah,
so it's a process, and people that are homeless, they would get matched to those units.
That's right. So our partner, our homeless service provider partner, People Assisting the Homeless, has been in service for I think over 20 years at least, and they will be working. They are in an approved homeless service provider by the county, and they will be going through the CES, and they are selected. Their service areas, and they are selected like Monica said, through the CES system.
Yolanda has a question about maintenance of the pocket park. It appears as though there's no real budget or hasn't been referenced at least. So she'd like to know who's responsible for maintenance, security, personnel in relationship to the pocket park.
Right, so we are going to, National Corps will actually own the land where the pocket park will be developed, and National Corps will pay for the development of whatever is programmed there, and we are going to work with a CBO, a park developer, local, to develop it. National Corps will pay for that. The project will pay for that, and National Corps will also be doing the maintenance and the servicing. The programming is going to be a collaboration. We want the community to feel ownership of this park. So I don't want to say the National Corps will run it, because we will only, we'll provide the security, we'll be, paying for the development of it and the maintenance. But certainly we expect that the community will help us run this park.
And Yolanda would like to know if it's going to be a permanent mural, which is preferred.
Yes, the art will be permanent, and will be there will be maintenance for it. Yes.
Okay. Beatriz would like to know, did National Corps complete a community impact survey? And if so, can it be emailed to her?
I'm not sure exactly what she means by community impact survey.
Actually, she wrote study. It says impact study.
I'm sorry, study. You're right.
A community impact study. So so this particular project is being developed at the corner of 3rd and Dangler, which is under the 3rd Street specific plan. And National Court met all the design guidelines that are outlined in the 3rd Street specific plan. And my understanding is that the 3rd Street specific plan did all the analysis and studies and impact studies that led to those design standards. National Court itself did not do any impact studies to design the project, no.
And another question from Beatriz is there a budget available that could be shared?
For the park?
Well, so the part 2 of her question is there's no unit size and unit rents and no budget attached to the report. Is there a budget available?
Yes, so the DDA will have it's a public document, and it will have a budget, a project budget, and rent schedules and all that. I'm about to finalize that, and I will forward it to LACDA. LACDA needs to approve it before it becomes public, I believe, and it will be a public document, and everybody can access that. It should be available next week, I feel like. If LACDA approves it, then we can release it to the public. And it has to do with LACDA underwriting standards, meaning that they need to make sure that we're spending the money according to their limits. I don't want to use the word underwriting. I do want to go back to the impact study question. Even though National Court did not do an impact study, we did do, I believe, broad community outreach. We did before COVID. We gathered signatures from. We were out there in the community providing information about the project, gathering support for it. We did a number of at-large community meetings. We did an open house to provide information about the project. So community outreach was done. We didn't do an impact study. Just wanted to clarify.
And we have several comments about the rent tables, wanting to know if they can be displayed or shared. So I'm imagining that this is information we can follow up.
Yes, most definitely. Again, like I said, this information is going to be public information as soon as LACDA approves the budget. I would hate to share something and then LACDA will change it completely, and then there'll be, there isn't really a lot of, what's it called? A lot of rocket science to it. It's just I need to make sure that LACDA is good to go with my budget, and we can go ahead and share it. It will be a public document.
Okay. And we'll go ahead, and when that becomes available, we will share that with everyone.
Yeah, so it will be in the same DDA that this CBA agreement, the Community Benefits Agreement will be part of. So you all will have it.
Okay. Another question is, who is the homeless partner?
The homeless partner is People Assisting the Homeless. They are known as PATH, P-A-T-H. And they've been around for a long, long time.
This is Monica. I just want to say PATH is a really, really great partner. They just opened a couple of buildings in like the west side, and they're very, very good at providing wraparound services to the people that live in their units. So.
And I think this may have been answered, but I'm going to, this is another follow-up from Beatriz. In regards to the community impact study, I'm not referring to the design. I want to know if there was a community impact study on how this project will affect the current landlords and tenants of the community.
So I'm still trying to understand impact, in what way, but again, National Core relies on the work that was done by the county planning department in providing, you know, design standards that are based on, I believe, because I believe that's how it works, that the county planning department did those studies in terms of how does a building of our size affect traffic, pollution, you know, school services, and all that kind of other stuff. But National Core did not engage in studies. We engaged in outreach and to make sure that, so for example, one of the first things we did, you know, was to do an at-large community meeting. And in that meeting, we heard, you know, that parking and traffic was a main concern of the community. And initially, because of cost, you know, doing underground parking is very, very expensive because of the engineering and the construction type. And we had initially, because the specific plan, and because it's a TOD, transportation oriented development area, TOD area, we actually are not required to provide parking, because the idea is that it's across from, we're across from the metro line, and the idea is that people will have access to transportation. So in theory, legally, National Core did not actually have to provide any parking spaces, but we were providing one level of underground parking, about 40 spaces. We heard from the community that, you know, parking was a big concern, and we looked at our budget, you know, the funding sources, and we felt that we were able to include an additional parking level. So we went from 40 spaces to 87 spaces. And so we did go out there and hear the community needs and concerns, and National Core, along with, you know, the partners that we work with, feel that we address those concerns. And the CBA is actually an answer to those concerns as well.
Rosalinda has, she knows quite a few people who are homeless on a list for housing and, I'm sorry, how can I get people I know who are homeless on a list for housing and wraparound services? And also with that, when are the applications available for Dangler as well as Veranda?
So to get on the, I am not exactly sure. I would have to, my best answer to you is that I can ask PATH, you know, because I work with, I coordinate the situation, but I'm not exactly sure how do you get on the CES list. I would have to ask our homeless service provider. I don't know if anyone here, maybe Monica knows.
Yeah, so it's very simple. People that are homeless, anybody that wants to get on this list, they have to be homeless. Again, you can use LA HOP to make referrals, so it's la-hop.org, and you can make referrals, and people can self-refer, so they can start the process. Again, everybody, the way it works is outreach teams will go to people where they're homeless at, so that I would suggest that you start that process that way. But it wouldn't guarantee them getting a place in this particular building.
Thank you.
All right. I'm so sorry. Please continue, Zoe.
And in terms of the applications available, so just so that people have an idea of the timing, we are probably 80% funded at this point, maybe 70, and we are hoping to apply for our last piece of funding in this coming September. We feel pretty confident about it. It's not 100% sure that we will be funded. It's for tax credits and bonds. It's our last piece of funding. And if we are successful in obtaining this last piece of funding, we intend to close construction financing sometime between April and May of next year. It is a 2-year construction period because of the type of building. You know, we have to dig a big hole. And we feel that we finish with construction in first quarter of 2023. And we are going to, per the CBA, we are going to be sending out and organizing workshops to residents of the area through our CBO partners so that they know how to apply and have the information and the tools available to be ready for that when the application process opens. We still haven't figured out, and something we probably will consult with the CBO partners and the committee, is how exactly those applications are going to be available.
All right, everyone. Well, as we can see, we are past time, but we are moving into the phase where we'd like to consider if we're ready to move this item forward to a vote. Please understand we're not voting on the presentation or on the Third and Dangler project itself. We're voting on the community benefits agreement, and as Rosa described, the opportunity for HICP to sign on as the partner, the community-based partner, to help oversee and coordinate the community benefits agreement. So I'd like to offer a temperature check right now. Everyone can participate, and this is to basically inform whether we are closed with sufficient discussion to move to a vote, or whether we would like discussion to continue at this time. As mentioned, the Health Innovation Community Partnership would continue in a very strong leadership role on the project, so it's not like this is the last you'll hear of this project. You'll hear many more updates to come. But are we ready to move forward with the vote on the HICP adoption of the Community Benefits Agreement role?
And while that's happening, I wanted to just clarify two more things. One, the community benefit agreement that we're signing is just that skeleton of all the components that will be in the CBA, with some drafts of the processes in every one of the committees. But there's still time in the discussions at the committee level to ensure that we can detail exactly how, for example, our early notifications will be done to folks that are interested in the project, the pocket park plan and design, the the art component and the process in that aspect, local and target hire. So please don't feel like this is the only opportunity for input by HICP or even at a committee level. Just wanted to clarify that.
And Guadalupe, did you have something you'd like to add?
Yes, I just wanted to share, because we may have some new members here today. This project actually went through quite extensive community input. Again, there was meetings that were attended, standing meetings by the developer, to present the project, to receive input. There was input in regards to the housing development in terms of the public improvements, right? That were being funded from the state. There's also meetings that were at large actually scheduled before COVID, several at-large meetings. And after, when we were in the COVID situation, we had a lot of virtual meetings with our community stakeholders, CBOs. And so thereafter, given the input, it was necessary to document the areas that, follow-up that were very much needed and were asked for by, the input. And that is what you have before you, the community benefit agreement that documents those areas that establish the CBA establishes a framework to follow up and ensure that those community benefits, happen. And with your help today, if there is support, the HICP will be, establishing an oversight committee and again, monitoring to ensure that all the benefits are implemented per the CBA on the behalf of the community.
Thank you so much, Guadalupe. So at this time, we've launched our poll to do a temperature check, and we still have a few people that would like to continue some discussion on the item. I will ask that those individuals either raise their hand to ask a question or put a question in the chat, and it should relate to the CBA agreement itself, not necessarily all the implementation aspects of the Third and Dangler project. So please, please reference a question based on the CBA if you could at this time. All right, additional questions, please. Could we relaunch the temperature check questionnaire and see if the responses have changed? I think we had like 4 people that were interested in continuing discussion. Would any of that group be interested in raising a question at this time?
For this particular aspect of the meeting, this is just a poll. You don't have to be a member, correct? Vote?
Correct. The membership, the entire partnership is invited to participate in this poll.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, I think at this time we see much more significant response that the membership does feel comfortable to move forward to the vote at this time. So with that, you know, thank you so much everyone for participating, for bringing your great thoughtfulness to this work and your interest and questions. As mentioned, moving forward to the vote at this time, that is a restricted process to the voting membership only. So we're going to be concluding our regular meeting with all the attendees and moving into a space where we can then conduct the vote. And we'll be reporting back to you the results of the vote. As anticipated, we will be voting on whether HICP will adopt the community benefits agreement and then continue forward in the work of overseeing and supporting the Third Dangler project. So with that, like I say, we're going to conclude the regular meeting. We'll ask everyone who is not a voting member, you can please, wrap it up now. We'll do a last and final feedback poll on the meeting itself. And just a quick reminder that Friday, September 4th is our next meeting. We're going to be focusing largely on affordable housing projects and developments in the East Side areas, as well as permanent supportive housing elements that will be part of the Restorative Care Village. So it'll be a really interesting presentation. We'll also be reaching out to Martin to potentially coordinate additional presentations on transportation from LA City. So those are some of the great content we'll have in the months ahead. So thank you so much for your time today. Please complete the poll. I'll ask the voting members to please remain on this conference line, and we'll be conducting the vote in just 1 minute. I did see one raised hand from Zoe.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and we're looking forward, National Core team, the entire team is looking forward to working with you all, and we will be calling you. So thank you for inviting us. Have a great rest of the meeting and a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Zoe.